Welcome back, Soulful Society, to Soulful of Wellness,
the multi-generational podcast brought to you by two functional imperfectionists
and certified coaches
who deliver tips to live your most authentic, balanced, and anxiety-free life.
Today's episode is focused on one master tool to revolutionize the way you control your own anxiety. Welcome back, Soulful Society. Happy September.
Happy September, listeners.
I think we said that last week, but I feel like it's worth repeating.
Absolutely, all month long.
If you haven't already, please don't forget to follow us, leave us a rating and review, and tell a friend about Soulful of Wellness. Feel free to share this episode once you've finished with it. Today's topic, it resonates with us both. You probably know this very well if you've been listening for a while. And if you're new, welcome. Kit and I are certified coaches who also have had struggles with generalized anxiety, perfectionism, all those lovely, lovely common things. And today we wanted to dive into worrying, control, and really one master tool that you can start doing today to make your life feel more free, make your brain nice and happy.
This is one of those things that when you hear someone say, you think, how have I lived this long without this? And why did I need someone to come up with it for me? It seems so basic. How did I never just come up with this on my own? Release self-blame, self-criticism, let all that go. We're about to share it with you, and it will revolutionize the way you approach your anxiety, your worries, and even your potential control issues.
So before we get into the master tool, we wanted to talk a little bit about anxiety in general, just things that we've observed through living it, and also what we've observed sort of in today's culture and social media and things like that. And I personally have had an interesting journey, even just with identifying with generalized anxiety disorder. I'm actually at a point where I don't like to label myself or say, I have this, I am this.
Not one of your character traits.
Right. It's not a part of you.
Not something that defines you. Not one of your essential places of operation. And I know sometimes it feels like it might be, but it's the difference between temporary and an enduring character trait, something that you're never without. I'd like to think, after all the work you and I have both done, that we've come far enough that there are significant portions of life where, although it might be completely gone, anxiety is honestly far away from us. It's not something that's imminently impacting how we're operating at those times.
For sure. And I like to reframe anxiety. It's not this big monster thing or this characteristic that you are. Anxiety. Like, I want to peel back that disguise or that mask a little bit and basically explain that anxiety is an experience. Now, some of us may have that experience more often than not, which is why then we do that inner work, or we get that coach, that therapist, that support team, and we do the inner work to identify, okay, what really triggers this experience in me? Why? So that way we can gain that awareness to be our own cheerleader, be our own self-advocate, and facilitate our own personal growth in managing this experience a little bit better so that you have a better quality of life, frankly.
Anxiety would love for you to believe that it is all those things you just described that it's not. And it's very savvy and at times quite powerful and good at what it does and can be very convincing.
Oh, yeah.
To the point where I know I've believed it's all that it's the one in control, that it's this monster with all the power. But when I can see it for what it is and put it in its appropriate place, which is not non-existent. There are times where there's appropriate anxiety, gets, me moving, gets me going, gets me in the direction I need to be, even sometimes in a potentially productive, healthy way. But all that extra that really is unhealthy, that's what it's not, unless we let it be that. And we're here to say, don't let it be that, and help you with this one particular methodology to help anxiety not be any bigger than it really is.
Yes, I love that. Like, don't give it that power of, we love to use personifications. And I mean, Tame Your Inner Gremlin by Rick Carson, I mean, he really brought that out in us as coaches, I feel like, as like a really useful coaching tool. Like, I love the way you described that, Kit, of this. I just imagine this big shadowy figure.
Oh, yeah.
That is anxiety. And us just dissolving that with all of our tools, all of us together, we can dissolve that own. He wants to look like a scary monster.
It's absolutely like Oz behind the curtain.
Yes.
Yes. And then Toto pulls away the curtain and everyone's like, seriously? You're just this?
Yeah.
He's like, oops, my bad. Yeah.
So obviously anxiety is what we're talking about when it's the opposite of eustress, which is what you were talking about, Kit, with that productive stress that gets us going, gets our adrenaline pumping, and helps us in situations that warrant it. This anxiety that we're talking about, this experience, is when your brain is playing tricks on you. It's that negative self-talk. It's the what if worries. It's the rumination. It's the stories. We all are very, very good storytellers. We tell ourselves narratives all the time, which is why we're going to come up with another episode on manifestation, how to essentially change and manipulate that narrative inside our brains to something that's going to be positively useful for ourselves.
Yes.
Today, we're acknowledging when the narrative gets out of control and it hinders our ability to live a happy and healthy life.
I think we've teased long enough. Let's set up our master tool for taming the monster anxiety. Step 1 is to notice your little anxiety. I'm going to air quote the word triggers because I think that word, although very useful at times, is rather overused and sometimes even misused in our society. But that's another tangent I'll try not to let myself go on right now. Jot these down. Jot them down on a sticky note. Jot them down in notes in your phone, whatever they are. Collect the thoughts that are provoking a little volcano of feelings in you, ones that are getting a disproportionate reaction within you than they actually deserve. Collect these for a little while. It can be a few hours, it can be a few days. Just get a little collection of these going. 2, carve out a time. And this is where we're going to say, make it a standing appointment with yourself. You're going to have it as your designated worry time. This is not time to worry. This is time to deal with the worry. And then step 3, here's the big one. Take it, Kaylin.
Oh my God, I feel like you just passed me a really important baton there. Okay.
Well, I figure number 1, you deserve it. Number 2, that's enough of my voice for a while.
No, I love your voice.
I'll give you the drum roll because this is it. Ready?
Okay. Make a to-do list out of your worry list.
Oh. That was so much better. I was trying to do the angels singing and it didn't sound very angelic.
Yeah, we'll see when we listen to this back what that sounded like for both of us.
Convert the worry list to action items. Do something about them.
We've said this before. Like, it's my dad's favorite thing to remind me of is action mitigates anxiety. And think about it, right? There's a direct correlation between the experience of anxiety and perfectionism and the need for control. We are trying to control.
Yes. Wait, ready? I have some A alliteration.
Oh, go.
It is action is the anxiety antidote.
Action is the anxiety antidote. Let's go.
AAA.
You just got to call on your tool, AAA.
Yes. Call AAA.
Oh my gosh. Kid, so creative. AAA.
Mic drop. Going home. Oh, I'm already here.
We work from home. So this can be fun. You can play with this and it can really help you on a weekly basis. I love this idea of, okay, so you've manipulated and curated that list into a to-do list, okay? This is what's worrying me. I'm worried about, okay, so we're just going to rattle off a few examples.
This is what it might look like.
I'm worried about the fact that I haven't booked that flight that is in the spring and everyone I'm traveling with has already booked it. I just haven't thought about it, but it's in the back of my mind. Okay, book flight. Add that to the to-do list.
This is very real. I was thinking, what is kind of just low-key bugging me, but more than it should, so that it's crossed into the realm of causing me more anxiety than it's frankly worth. A good friend of mine is having a yard sale in 2 weeks, and there are certain things in my house that I'm so psyched to get out of my house, but all the steps involved from my house to her house, it's not as simple as it sounds. It's borrowing a truck, it's cleaning the things up because they've been living in my basement, getting them washed off, loading them into the truck, driving them about 20 to 30 minutes, dropping them off. It's all these little things, and it's just causing me this crazy disproportionate amount of anxiety. So I was like, hey, follow your own tool. Put them on the list. And I have now blocked out when I'm going to do each step along the way, when it's going to happen. I already know. And I didn't do it all at once because that would just be a whole bunch of dread for me. So now when those worries start cropping up, I can easily say, whoa, I have this under control. I know what to do. I know when I'm going to do it, and I know that it will happen at those times. And I can honestly dismiss the anxiety in that minute, and it feels good. It makes me feel powerful and in control.
Love that for you. And what I'm hearing is two themes. One, being overwhelmed. The experience of thinking about all the steps it's going to take. And that overwhelm ended up taking up valuable space in your brain. So what I'm hearing is this tool allowed you to free up your mind because now you're not worrying about what you have to do because it's on the list. You know when it's getting done and you know you're going to check it off. It's no longer looming in the ether, floating above our heads. So that's something I really should do.
Yes.
Shoulding ourselves. The shoulds and the worries. And so now I love to hear that it seems like you kind of have a new sense of freedom and free space in your mind to live.
Yes, I feel empowered because they're things that I don't really want to do. They're just stupid little things, but I'm like, oh, God, that. But I feel empowered that I'm going to make it happen, and I purposely divided it up so it wasn't like in 2 hours you're going to do all of this because then I'd be...
You chunked it.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Good. A clear-cut example of the tool. And we love a good deadline too.
Oh, yeah.
At least that really, really works for me and really helps me. So I have had, the massive undertaking of puppy-proofing my apartment. And you guys, I have been, my coping mechanism of just, I guess, the perfectionism, the over-preparing in me has been, I am just going to absolutely, turn this apartment upside down, move around furniture, and declutter. And I have successfully done that. But the deadline of it all is really what was able to motivate me to chunk out this massive project into mini projects and just get it done.
Yeah, and that's such a good kind of, in some ways, opposite end of the spectrum example, because mine was something that I had to do that I didn't want to do and therefore could drag my feet on. I mean, ultimately I want to do it, but I don't want to do all the crummy steps in between. Yours was something you were completely looking forward to, but was still causing this anxiety because you want to do it all right. You want to get it set up perfectly. You want to be the very best dog mom that's ever existed from the moment he comes home, which, as soon as he comes home and chews something or pees on something, like I almost think that might be a little freeing for you. And you'll be like,
yeah,
okay, perfection's gone. Now it's us.
Yeah.
And it feels good. It feels more comfortable. I know this realm.
I love that challenge of accepting things going wrong, the chaos, and embracing the fact that I don't have control from this moment forward. We're actually recording this 30 minutes before I'm hitting the road with my husband to go pick up our puppy. And it's like, okay, from here on out, mostly everything is out of my control.
Oh, yeah.
We control the things we can, and it's so linked with anxiety, perfectionism, control. They're all in the same bucket there. And so it's yeah, you're right. The relief of, okay, now there's chaos. And
it's so
that's okay.
relevant to anxiety because the need for control is at the core of so much of this anxiety. And the fact that we can't control everything in life, reframing that to the freeing element of it versus the anxiety, that I feel like that's where anxiety really gets big and takes over and balloons, because it says you wish you could control everything, but some things you can't, and then you have a power struggle with the mere fact that you can't. So by releasing, and that brings us back to our master tool of this list, there are going to be items in life that are beyond your control and therefore ineligible, let me pick a word that's really a word, ineligible of becoming an action item. So I'm just going to put it out there, because as brilliant as the tool is, and believe me, it is brilliant and effective, not every single thing on your list is going to be within your control to turn into an action item. So know that up front. And the antidote is to work on releasing. I want to say the tool is to release, but that makes it sound like, oh, yeah, I wish if I could, I would have already. Work on releasing.
Yeah. Oh, that is such a tough one, that all we can do is just practice a little bit of releasing every day, I think. Like once a day, where is some moment that we can pick the choice to let it go?
I think the list comes in handy, and the master tool comes in handy, even just when you see it on your list and you start thinking creatively and you're like, okay, my job during this designated time is to turn each of these into an action item, and you're grappling with one and you're thinking, okay, I'm going to think outside of the box. I'm not going to give up. How can I turn this into an action item? Because it's not always obvious from the start. Some you have to think about and really look at and get underneath and look at it from the bottom or the backside and say, well, what is it about this? Maybe I can do something about that. Or what's the root of this? Maybe I can go toward the root or work around. And then if you have, or I should say, when you have these items on the list that you just cannot turn into an action item, at least you've now identified, okay, here is something outside of my control. Now at least I know this is one of those things I'm going to work toward releasing.
I'm picturing a journal, and one half of the side says things I can control, and it's your worry list. And the other half is things you can't control, which is also your worry list.
But that's your to release list.
Yes, to release and to do. So your to-do list are these worries. It is empowering. It feels like you're bringing that sense of control back, and you're able to take your power back. And it sounds like you have that exact experience, Kit. And I am excited to try this.
Oh, so good. So good. I'm excited for our listeners to try it.
I know. And we love a good brain dump, right? Just getting it all out on paper, and just that way it's not clouding up your head and creating these dense cobwebs like in your brain and impacting your ability to live in the moment, to enjoy life. And We just want you to enjoy life.
It's a bonus of the tool because when you see them on the list, even if the list isn't short, when I see them written down, they never feel as big as they felt when they were inside my head.
Yes, yes.
When they were inside my head, it was like the active atoms that were bouncing around and filling up tons of space and felt really big. And on the paper, even though the list is not a short list, it still just seems like, oh, that's all you are? I really thought you were going to be bigger than that. Like, I really thought you guys were more than that. Almost laughing at them a little, like, okay, you had me for a while, but now I see you're really not all that.
Yeah, and the list allows us to slow down, get in touch with ourselves, take a breather. Like adding this into our routine is helpful for self-connection, self-growth, self-care. It's just another thing that you can be doing to take care of your mental health and well-being.
That's why we recommend to clients at least once weekly.
Yeah.
Implementing this tool for yourself once or twice weekly helps contain the worries to their warranted space.
Yeah. We're only giving you this space, worry. We're going to look at you. We're going to write you down. We're going to take a look at you.
Yeah.
Acknowledge you and then decide what we're going to do about it. And for the other half that are just too big and out of our control, we're going to look at you with love. We're going to acknowledge you. We're going to acknowledge our feelings. And then we're going to let you go. And no matter how many times we have to let you go, because the worry will creep back in again and again, we just keep practicing that art of letting it go. Again and again and again.
Yes. Get that on your calendar. Your worry time, schedule it. Accumulate your in between. Just whenever that worry is bugging you, it's niggling, it's taking over some brain space, some emotional space, put it down, and then you have your scheduled time to visit the list, convert into action items, and reclaim your power, have control over what you can control, and feel the worries fall into their appropriate, manageable places.
Thank you for joining us for another week of Wellness Goodness. If you like this episode, please share this with a friend and leave us a rating and review. Till next week, Soulful Society, we love you. Peace, love, and light.
Thanks so much for listening again this week. Peace, love, and light.
The Soulful of Wellness hosts are certified health and wellness coaches. This podcast is intended to inform and entertain listeners on their wellness journey. This podcast is meant to enhance, not replace, listeners' care from doctors, therapists, or other medical providers.